I'm Blair from MrHardware.com and Gilbert's Pro Hardware in St. Clair Shores, Michigan to give a quick lesson on drip irrigation. To install drip irrigation, you need to have a main line that will supply water to all your drips, all your points that you're going to pierce into this line to bring water to your different locations. As you get the distribution tube, it's 1/2 inch in diameter, and what there's little pieces that pierce into the tubing. It takes some spaghetti tubing and we can run it over to a plant, or we can take and install a little point of entry. I'm going to show you how these go in, and we can run the tubing over to the plant that we either throw in a 2-gallon per hour emitter, or we can have an adjustable emitter that's a spike. These are real handy. I like these because I can take and adjust it for more or less water flow. So when it's running, you can adjust it. It's pretty much that you find a main supply of water. I take and I have a pressure regulator filter. This happens to be a Rainbird thing that we put in line with the system. It's got a very fine filter to keep these dainty little emitters from getting clogged up. So you have a pressure regulator filter, you have a distribution hose, and then you have spaghetti tubing. So we can go with a hose bib coming off your house, a simple timer that's easy to program, to a filter, and then out around your yard. And now, using this little timer, you can water your flowers 10 minutes every other day, all summer long. Never have to go and water them by hand. Cool little system, really easy to do, not very expensive. Some of the emitters might be $3, $4. We come to my neighbor's house to show that this system could be hooked up to city water pressure, not just the pump. The pump, I'm lucky I'm on the water. So I can put a hose wise, so I can still use my garden hose. I put the timer on the other side. Of course, I'm going to have it on all the time. And then I have my filter and my distribution tubing that's going to run around my property to give me access to all of my plants. Really, in a matter of about 4 hours, you could have your whole yard self-watering. And boom, I leave this on all the time. I can still have my garden hose. And so I'm using city water to water the same as I'm doing it using a pump in the lake. You can see a black hose running around the fence of my yard. And as it comes around the yard, wherever I want it to water, I put a T, I tapped into the distribution, snapped on my emitter, I throw it in the middle of my plant. The 2 plants below us, they've been watered all summer. I have some hops over there in that planter doing real well, and I have a climbing hydrangea doing real well. I haven't had to water these manually all summer. I have my sprinkling system set, and I'll show you how I tapped off the sprinkling system to feed my distribution hose. Here is my 3/4 horsepower sprinkler pump. This is my distribution hose that I'm using to feed my emitters. I just put a ball valve and I have a check valve, so I help maintain the prime in my pump. Here's my distribution pipe fed from my sprinkler system. Here's my little tap that just punched right into the tubing. Here's a T, and the reason I use the T is I have one distribution head in this plant, and I have one distribution head in that plant. Here's my spike emitter. And what's neat is if the plant's not getting enough water or too much, you can dial it down to a smaller amount or open it up to more. I set this so it's just enough for the size of the plant. I leave the spike in the plant. Bingo, it gets too wet, I can adjust it one way or another. Now the other thing I got here is a 2-gallon per hour emitter. And that's what it does. You can't adjust it, but depending on what you're doing, it's a little less expensive than the dial emitter. Works pretty cool too. They make this little tool that's supposed to grab these piercing little framuses, I have trouble with it. So I simply use a pair of bullnose pliers. I can get a better grip on it. So when I pierce it in there, it's a little easier for me. This is a little piercing adapter. It's got a pointy barb on one end for piercing into the pipe. It's got a round barb to push the spaghetti pipe on after it's installed. I find my location. I push in hard and turn, and I force it right in, just like that. You pull back when it's under pressure, it's unbelievable. These don't leak at all. Then you can take the spaghetti tubing, shove it on just like that. Now this is easy to hide. I can run this tubing over to where my plants are, put the proper emitter, even the improper emitter, and just keep fooling around until after the system runs a couple days. You check your plants, you see if they're getting wet enough, go from there. So that's it. Drip irrigation, made easy. Easy to keep your plants alive. Easier living from MrHardware.com.